Subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a pamphlet and wherein the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam by Mirza Gulam Ahmad printed the conditions of Bai'at, initiation. That is the condition for joining the group, the religion of Ahmadiyya. So we have about 10 conditions here, which the Mirza himself stated, which must be abide by anyone who wants to join the religion. First, to begin with, what are the conditions for joining Islam, for embracing Islam? Save to bear witness in Allah, in the oneness of Allah and the truthfulness of the Prophet Muhammad. But as Ahmadiyya, you need to sign a Bai'at. That is, you need to be initiated before you can join the religion. You can see how heretic this is, because if Ahmadiyya truly is Islam, and if it truly teaches the religion of Islam, so I think it is clear that there should not be any reason for being initiated again before joining it. That is why you can never get married to them unless you sign this Bai'at, and you can never get anything, any benefit from them unless you join them, and they will never give their daughters in marriage to somebody who is not among them. Now, I don't just want to quote all these conditions. Rather, I want to refute them one by one. But I think I will just be able to refute about 5 or 6 of them. Why I want to do this? All the conditions laid by Gulam Ahmad himself was it contrary to what he himself practiced while he was alive. For example, the first condition is that he said the initiate shall solemnly promise, 1, that he or she shall abstain from shirk, association from any partner with God, right up to the day of his or her death. Okay, we have no record, or let me say, I personally have no record hitherto about the association of my Gulam Ahmad, about Gulam Ahmad's association of partner with Allah. But there are some things we can just consider, such as his wholeheartedly support for the British government, which propagates the religion of Christianity. So, and this is in a way or the other, directly or indirectly, a way of ascribing partners to Allah, because these people worship Jesus, and you wholeheartedly you support them. In fact, you made the support, the loyalty to them one of the Sharia of Islam. Let me quote him one of his writings. He said, "The greater part of my life has been spent supporting and defending the British government, and I have written so many books regarding the prohibition of jihad. Subhanallah, just because of these people and obedience to the British, that were they to be gathered together, they will fill 50 bookcases." Look at him. Okay, let me quote him again. He said, the other thing worth mentioning is that from my early age till now, when the first, what I quoted just now can find in his book Tiryakul Qulub, page 15. Now he said, the other thing worth mentioning is that from my early age till now, when I am about 60 years old of age, I have been engaged with what? Let us read what he was engaged with. He said, with my pen and tongue, in what? In an important task, to turn the hearts of Muslims towards the true love and goodwill and sympathy for the British government. You can see. And because of them, he said, and to obliterate, imagine, and to obliterate the idea of jihad. This man, from the hearts of the less wise among them, because he even said less wise. So you can see, so this, in fact, is directly or alludedly one of those who, because if you support a mushrik, somebody who worships any other than Allah, you are also a mushrik. Now, he said, second condition, that he or she shall keep away from falsehood, fornication, adultery, trespasses of the eye, debauchery, dissipation, cruelty, dishonesty. That's what I want to take him to. Dishonesty, mischief, and rebellion. The three. Let me say, okay, just dishonesty and rebellion. Yes, Mahdi was very, very dishonest. In fact, this has even disqualified him from his claim of being a prophet. Let me just use this as an example. And when he it will be a long story, but to make it, let's say in a nutshell, he called out for the donations on the cost of printing 50 volumes of a certain book, which 50 volumes of a certain book which he claimed to be written against the British government, against Christianity, against pagan religions like Ahmadiyya, and against non-Islamic religions, and in the support of Islam and the support of Muhammad sallallahu and this and that. Now, a huge amount of money was donated just for this cause, because the Indian Muslims were also perplexed and disturbed and worried about the huge movement of the Christian missionaries. Now, evangelism then. Now, he collected that huge amount of money, but he could not publish more than 5 books. In fact, he published 4 books within the year of 1880 to 1884. 4 years, he published only 4 books, and he promised to publish 50 books, and you collected money for 50 volumes, and you published only 4 volumes. Now, within 4 years, he could only publish 4 books, 4 volumes. So people were annoyed. They tried to tongue lash him. How can a man of God do this? Okay, now, because of this, after a decade, like 15 years after, he published the 5th volume. Now, let us read it. So when he published the 5th volume, he stopped. He just came with the idea of publishing only 6 volumes, so that he would try to be tricky in a way. Let us see what he did. He said, so earlier I had thought of writing 50 volumes, but now I have confined myself to writing 5, since the difference between the figures of 50 and 5 is just that of 1 dot, that is 0. That is, I promised initially to write a book of 50 volumes, but now I've just written only 5 volumes. Please continue with it. I've just written only 5 volumes. So, and the difference between 5 and 50 is just a dot, and dot is nothing. Thus, the promise has been fulfilled by the publication of 5 volumes. You can find this in Preface of Bai'at Ahmadiyya, volume 5. When he published the last volume, which is volume 5, 5th volume, he wrote among the preface to the book, to the volume. This is what he said, and you can find this in Preface of Bai'at Ahmadiyya, volume 5. You can see the man of God. So this is how dishonesty, and he said his members should not be dishonest. And you are very tricky and treacherous, and in fact greedy. Now rebellion. So many rebellion against the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, going against jihad is a big rebellion against Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. Now let me go to the 4th condition. He said that under the impulse of any passion, he or she shall cause no harm. He or she shall cause no harm or whatsoever to the creatures of Allah in general. Now, let me just quote Gulam Ahmad. Let me just quote him. Let me quickly. You can see as to this condition, Gulam Ahmad is a failure. He's a failure. We have him in a place where in fact, because to harm people is in two ways. You harm people with your tongue and you harm people with your hand. The Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Al-Muslim, a Muslim, a true believing Muslim is the one from whose tongue and hand the Muslims are saved. You don't harm them with your tongue, you don't harm them with the hand. Now look at Gulam Ahmad. There's so many places. A man that claims to be a prophet of God. He said, now, since these people abuse me, I have already taken off all their clothes and I have reduced them to irrecognizable carcasses. You can imagine. He's not even saying irrecognizable corpse. He said carcasses. Imagine carcasses. The dead body of an animal. You can see. You can find this in Anjam. Where can we find such a statement from the statement of the Prophet? Even respecting the disbelievers, you can never see the Prophet Sallam. Can never read or hear him did this. Now, even he directed, and all these people he was abusing was the scholarly Muslims who were refuting his falsehood. They are not even Christians, not Jews. He said these enemies have become the swines. You can hear swines of our wilderness. And their women are even worse than bitches. Can you imagine a man that called himself a prophet of God? You can find this in Najim al-Huda, page 15. The first one in German, I think, page 158. We have so many kind of these features statements of him. Now, the sixth condition, he said that he or she shall refrain from following an un-Islamic custom. Look at him, or following an un-Islamic custom. So he supports for the British government. Is he Islamic? Was that Islamic? Okay, let me even quote him. Let me quote him somewhere. I have a place to quote him. Let me quote him. He said, my religion. He even said, the other thing worth mentioning is that he said, I have written scores of books in Arabic, Persia, and Urdu with the view that jihad against the benevolent government was in no way justified. He called British. He was referring to British with his statement here as with his statement benevolent. He was referring to the British government that they are benevolent. You can see if you watch some other videos, you see how this British government had helped him because they knew it would be a very good gem, a very good tool in demolishing the true teaching of Islam, because they observe that this man his teaching and ideology is very heretic. He's not a pro-Islamic teaching. He said, my writing, which I have been explaining again and again, is that there are two parts of Islam. You can imagine, there are two parts of Islam. One, to obey the exalted Allah, and second, to obey the government, which has established peace and has provided its shadow of protection against oppression. Such a government is the British government. We have a lot of this. Now, he said that he shall entirely give up pride and vanity, whereas Gulam Ahmad is very braggart. In fact, very boastful, very arrogant, very imagine. In fact, before the publishing of the book Bai'at Ahmadiyya, he displayed his self-adulation, bragging. In fact, he exhibited himself a lot. So how did he also? This is also against this so that he made his work, his own handiwork, comparable with the Quran, with the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, he mentioned it. He said there's a place where he compared his book. He said, let me look for a place. He said, this humble slave said, I, the author of this book, Heresy of Ahmadiyyah, make this announcement with the promise to make a reward of 10,000 rupees to the followers of all faiths and religions who deny the truth of the glorious Quran and the prophethood of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in support of it, I commit myself to a formal legal undertaking and the Sharia pledge that if any of these deniers can show that their scriptures have as many and as sound arguments as found in the Holy Quran, and which we have mentioned herein, that is in the Holy Quran, and with that is the book which I authored, those arguments which I mentioned, and those arguments are just rational arguments. They are not from the Quran, they are not from Hadith, just rational arguments. So if they could produce arguments which are compatible with those in the Quran and those in his own book which he wrote, so that is, he compared his own work with the Quran. That is, if they could produce them, he was going to give them 10,000 rupees. Can you imagine? So what a braggart he was. And lastly, the eighth condition, which I'm going to make my last, on which I'm going to make my last discussion, said that he or she shall hold faith, the honor of faith and the cause of Islam dearer to him or her than his or her life, wealth, honor, children, and other dear ones. Can see that is, he should focus, he should wholeheartedly support. He should refrain from pursuing worldly materials. He should not be too, should live a humble life, a simple life, just like the prophets and men of God lived. Now, but what's it? On the contrary, you can see that we could read the life of Gulam Ahmad and the life of his wife, so that it gave an impression to those who followed him then. They were very embarrassed. They were very, disappointed at, they were very disappointed. How come? So such that Khwaja Kamaluddin's family, one of his staunch members, was very disappointed at his embezzling the money, that the public's money. So we have Muhammad Ali also, who later formed the section in the Lahore section. They were all disappointed at his luxurious life, especially the one which his family members lived. So we have so many evidences to cite, but just to make everything simple and not to make it lengthy of your discussion. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us understanding.